WPTV.
Welcome back to the desk. It's postseason time, MLB baseball after a long season. October is finally here, playoffs are finally here, and here to break down all the action, we have Anthony Walker, Andrew Ballistreri, Antonio Baldassare, and Joe Monroig. Anthony, I know for you it's a very happy time for a lot of Yankee fans. They're in the playoff series, ALDS against the Guardians, and I know you got the highlights from Game 1.
Yeah, it's a happy time, but it's also a stressful time. And Jimmy, we do have the highlights. We're going to take a look at them right now. Not Pioneers. Yankees and Guardians facing off in Game 1 of the ALDS. Harrison Bader, how about that, going yard for his first Yankee home run? That'll make it a 1-1 game. Guardians led 1-0 after a Stephen Kwan home run. Bader hits one out. He had 5 home runs in the regular season. We go to the bottom of the 5th inning. Jose Trevino against Cal Quantrill will fly one out to center field. Miles Straw drifting back, makes a nice little catch, but that's no big deal for the Yankees. IKF tags up and scores a run. It's 2-1 Yankees. Bottom of the 6th now, still Quantrill against Anthony Rizzo, and he's going to crush one deep to right field for a 2-run home run. That made it a 4-1 ball game. Spike Lee in the crowd absolutely loving it, and that would be your final as the Yankees win Game 1 by a final of 4-1 over the Guardians.
Spike Lee wasn't the only one loving it. We were there. All the four to five of us were there. You know, Joe, you're a Mets fan, so we get it a little bit. But Andrew, you were at the game.
I was.
What'd you see from it?
It was a great game. We're going to take a look at some of the stats to compare the Yankees and Guardians over the year. But it was a really great game for the Yankees. Garrett Cole looked great. As we take a look at the stats, Yankees 6-1 against the Guardians this season, scoring about 5 runs a game compared to the Guardians. And then team ERA, Yankees a little bit better when it comes to that. And errors, if you see errors, 97 errors for the Guardians, 74 for the Yankees. Something the Guardians seem to struggle with a bit. And as you see home runs, the Yankees absolutely tower over the Guardians, 254 to 127. So if you look at it on paper, the Yankees should win this. It's an easy matchup, but when it comes down to it, it's the playoffs, and anything can really happen in the playoffs.
I know comm majors don't like math, but that's double the amount of home runs right there. Antonio, what do you like to see from the Yankees in this series and from the season?
The Yankees had a lot of clutch hits. The Guardians didn't have any clutch hits. Cole got out of massive jams in that game. Bases loaded, got out of it. The Yankees hit the clutch hit. Rizzo opened the game up for us. We closed it out. Bullpen pitched solid. Loizaga pitched good. Peralta and Holmes to close it out. That's going to be a huge 3 guys in the bullpen this year.
Yeah, Cole got a lot of clutch outs, and as we were chanting at the game, Rizzo is his name-o. Joe, what did you see from the Yankees? What do you like from New York?
I think the most important thing about that game was really Cole getting out that bases-loaded jam. He's known to really employ it and really, kind of like lose the game right there. But you're down 1-0, gave up a home run to Kwan. But since that getting out of that jam, that momentum really shifted towards the Yankees. I think it really fired up Cole as well. And despite the fact that Judge not being a big factor, the lineup has been really stepping up huge.
Joe, I'm going to keep it with you from the other team in New York. Things not going so well. A little bit of a late season slide for the New York Mets. Talk to me about how their season ended, losing to the Padres. What went wrong?
Yeah, listen, the Mets lost a huge wild card series against the Padres. We take a look at the stats here to compare both teams. I mean, obviously the Padres won 2-1. Runs scored, Padres 8 more, 16. Runs allowed, the Mets 16. Home runs, Padres had 5. Left on base, evenly 41. This was a huge collapse for the Mets this season. It really was. It all started back in September, really. It's a huge turnaround. You went 9 for 17 against teams like Washington, the Athletics, and the Marlins. You lost a huge series. You got swept by the Braves, a crucial series to lose the NL East. A lot of stuff in the offseason is going to go on. The question about DeGrom. Free agency is going to be huge for the Mets. Who they're going to bring back. But other than that, it's a huge monumental collapse for this 101-win team that finished second in the NL East.
Andrew, what do you see from the team in Queens?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a collapse, and it's something that we watch every single year. This year it felt different, though. I feel like every year I watch the Mets collapse in June or July or August, and now it took all the way until September. The Mets go win 101 games, really nothing to show for it. The only guy that showed up in September was Eduardo Escobar, and it was just, now it's a lost season for the Mets.
Anthony, one team in New York, you laid them out, a lot of success. Mets started out good, didn't finish good. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and particularly in this series, Lindor and Alonso went 5 for 20 with 2 home runs, and although it's okay, it's not bad. That's not going to cut it when you're not a heavy offensive team. This team relies on their pitching. Max Scherzer did not get it done in the playoffs. Chris Bassett did not get it done in the playoffs. That's why the Mets are going home early.
Antonio, the Mets bats came and went in this series. Lost a lot of key games down the stretch. What do you take away from their season and their series loss as a whole?
I think it was an absolute collapse. They got swept by the Cubs. That can't happen. The Cubs are one of the worst teams in the league. Then they had a big series against the Braves, and it's typical Mets. Come out, awful. They beat their 3 best pitchers, the Braves. And then they gave Max another chance to win Game 1, and what does he do? Comes out, loses again. You don't pay a guy $45 million a year to lose, because if that was Garrett Cole, everyone would be coming for his neck.
Antonio, I knew you'd have a strong opinion, and so I'm going to keep it with you for some more strong opinions. This is always the season's unpredictable. The MLB season is unpredictable. Teams go high, teams go low. Who is your biggest letdown in the MLB this season?
My biggest letdown is the Minnesota Twins. They were 78-84 on this year. They signed Carlos Correa this year. That was their big signing. And he already left because they didn't make the playoffs this year. They hit the ball pretty decently, but it wasn't enough. The ERA as a team was about 4. It's not too bad, but not good. A lot of errors, though. 92 errors, that's a lot of errors. But I think Correa already left, and they got Buxton already, and they signed Sonny Gray. They didn't succeed this year at all.
You know, a lot of big signings, a lot of money spent. They didn't do too well in the Central. Joe, from my understanding, you have another team in the Central.
Yeah, I'm going to keep you here in the AL Central as well. I'm talking about the Chicago White Sox, but more like the Lost Sox. I mean, you take a look at this team. They finished second AL Central. This is a team that won a weak division last year. When you look at the team overall, they're very talented overall. And, you know, Tony La Russa, he's out. You know, he resigned from the team with health condition and just couldn't do anymore. This team is too good when you look at the roster-wise on paper to not be able to win the AL Central or be good in general.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Anderson, Lucas Giolito, Lance Lynn, I mean, Eloy Jimenez, you can go on and on with the names on that team. Anthony, I'll throw it over to you. Who is your biggest disappointment?
So I got a team in the Central, but not the AL Central, the NL Central. I'm going with the Milwaukee Brewers. I picked them to win the division this year, and I picked them to win it relatively easily. Their final record was 86-76. Not bad. 4.48 runs per game. They're actually third in the majors in home runs with 219, which is something you didn't really expect. The offense was there. The pitching surprisingly wasn't at times. Brandon Woodruff got off to a slow start. Corbin Burns had some rough outings. Overall, this team was just dwarfed by the Cardinals. They blew the lead down. They blew the division lead down the stretch. This is a disappointing season in Milwaukee.
Yeah, we talked a lot on the hot corner. I told you the Brewers wouldn't be able to hit. That's kind of the downfall of the season. They got the good pitching. Andrew, who's your team?
I got to go with the AL East squad, the Boston Red Sox. Everybody expected them to be phenomenal this season. They go out, they get Trevor Story. Doesn't work out. He gets hurt a little bit. Pitching looks bad. They had the 7th worst ERA in the MLB, a 4.53 ERA. Other than Bogarts and Devers, nobody really could do anything in the batter's box. And now you have the question of, is Bogarts going to come back? Is Devers going to come back? So it's tough times in Boston right now.
Yeah, tough times definitely in Boston, but you know how they are. That's a good front office there. They're going to rebuild. They're probably going to compete and be a thorn in the Yankees' side next season. And in the rest of the AL East, you know, Joe, started back off with you. We just talked about some disappointment teams. Now we're talking about teams that have had better seasons and some sleeper teams in the postseason. So outside of teams like the Dodgers, the Yankees, teams like that, who is your sleeper team to make a deep run in this postseason?
Well, this might be a long shot for a Cinderella run, but I'm going to stay with the Cleveland Guardians. This is a team that beat the Rays in the wild card. I'm very surprised because, in my opinion, I thought the Rays were going to really pass that round. They ranked 7th in hits per game. They ranked 8th in batting average this year. When you take a look at that pitching rotation, you know, I love Bieber, love Quantrill, love McKenzie. And then they have a productive lineup, but this is a team that really puts the ball in play. You know, guys like Josh Naylor, Oscar Gonzalez, Austin Hedges, Rosario, Jimenez, Jose Ramirez. Right? This is a team that's going to put the ball in play, and they're currently playing right now against the Yankees. But I think they're going to give the Yankees a challenge, and I think they have a legitimate shot to really get past this round.
Yeah, definitely a legit pitching staff and bullpen. Shane Bieber getting the start for the Guardians today. Going to be an interesting result to see. Antonio, who is your sleeper in this playoff quickly?
I tell you, a team that hasn't made it in 20 years, the Seattle Mariners. They came back from an 8-1 in the first round. That's phenomenal. You don't ever see that really. They're down 0-2 right now against Houston, but they lost game 1. Just take it game by game. They can hit the ball. I will not be surprised if they come back and win the series 3-2.
You know, that walk-off to Jordan was definitely a heartbreaker. And Andrew, who is your sleeper?
I got to go with the San Diego Padres. I mean, they're tied right now 1-1 with the Dodgers. Crucial Game 2 win on Wednesday night. So Darvish has looked good in the playoffs. Hader's looked good in the playoffs. Machado's getting hot. He had a home run and a double in his last game. I think Juan Soto's got to get it going a little bit in this next game. And if these guys can beat the Dodgers and the Braves and Phillies, got to be scared.
It's Tatis too, by the way.
Exactly.
It's without Tatis.
Yeah.
Padres definitely going to be a team that compete, definitely can hit, got a lot of talent. Anthony, close out our first episode of the semester.
Let's go with Red October. I know the Phillies and Braves are tied 1-1 in the series right now. I'm going with the Philadelphia Phillies. And let's break it. Let's simplify things. Right now, the Phillies and Braves, it's a best of 3 with 2 games in Philadelphia, and the Phillies have Aaron Nola going in Game 3. That's the recipe for success for me. I pick the Phillies.
Philly is going to be really interesting. NL East series, I know, Joe, it hurts to say. I'm going to rub on you a little bit. The Mets would have liked to be in that NL East series. Going to be fun to watch. But stay with us next week. Don't forget to follow us on Sports Desk at SportsDeskWP on Twitter and Instagram for updates and more. Join us next week. We will run it back with more from WP football, the NFL, and MLB. We would also like to give a special shout out to the cast and crew, and a big shout out to the tall man, Al Clark. From Studio B in Hamilton Hall, I'm Jimmy Patton.